Hello. Thank you for listening. This is the near death experience of Lewis. Open quote. I have always been very healthy and cared about my well being. At a certain point in my life, I found myself very busy in my professional occupation, requiring a very high level of intelligence, but a constant mind fog was limiting my work. Inspired by the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper, I started researching ways to improve my intelligence. After a long search and study of different methods, I found a substance that is made by the human body, which is the one that promotes neurogenesis faster than any other and also helps the creation of new synapses. This substance is called DMT and can be produced in a laboratory. Here's an editor's note. DMT is a Schedule 1 controlled substance in the United States, which means it's illegal to make, buy, possess, or distribute it. Open quote. With a friend, I set a day and a place to try it. I was really scared, almost to the point of changing my mind on trying this. I have never smoked anything nor drank any alcoholic beverage ever. We went to a park during the afternoon. I prepared everything, including some melodic, uplifting, chill step, chill out music in the background and a camera recording the whole process. After only a few seconds, everything started to look more whitish. There was more light all around, and everything started to look like watching through a soft kaleidoscope. Despite, I was able to see the very illuminated landscape all around me. Also, I noticed that on another level and dimension, 360 degrees all around me, was black, and in this blackness was absolute silence, but very lonely. At the same time, the thought of impending death came to me. I thought to myself, I took too much of this unknown substance, and I will probably never go back to life. In the meantime, I saw a very distant and very bright and small point of light that was continuously changing color, but more often than not returning to white, and then sparkling with different colors, and again turning back to white. In reality, it was always white, but several combinations of bright and beautiful colors were coming out of that light. I noticed that I was getting closer to this point of light, but all around this light, everything was absolutely a clear pitch black. I never saw such a deep black. Immediately, I felt like an external thought and understanding suddenly coming to my mind and telling me that death is absolutely not a problem, but like a birth for something much better expecting me and all living beings. This external thought seemed to be coming from this bright white light, because there was nothing else there, since everything else was absolute pure black nothingness. So only this light could have been talking to me. Then, while getting closer, this light said, without using any voice, "You are going to see now something really special and important. Do not resist." I kept on getting closer to this white light, but now I was close enough to notice that the white light was always there, and the colors were like flowing outside of it and kind of dancing around it, a similar concept of solar eruptions that come out of the sun and then coming back inside the sun, like dolphins jumping out of the water having fun and then returning to their home. The closer I got to this light, the warmer it felt, but not the kind of uncomfortable warmth on earth when it is too hot, but a sort of very deep, comforting, lovely warmth that I remember experiencing when taking care of an animal, or when hugging my girlfriend, or when helping someone in need. The difference was that this feeling of unconditional love was not stopping, and it kept on increasing the closer I got to this light. The fear and uncertainty were quickly fading away, being replaced by a feeling of understanding, compassion, and love. My understanding was growing together with my mind expanding more and more, like a dark field in the night gradually being illuminated by the morning sunlight while the fog quickly fades away. This process seemed to last about 2 earthly minutes, but at the same time, it did not feel like 2 minutes, but much more, because time was passing at relatively much slower pace when close to that light. Also, I was able to think way faster than on Earth, and I could have several parallel thoughts at the same time and connecting with each other in a beautifully and coherent fashion. My intelligent coefficient was easily 4 times more than on Earth. The closer I got to the light, the more everything became obviously clear, and the more I wanted to stare at that light, because there will never be anything more beautiful and brilliant to look at. The light was broadcasting so many things to me, not just a beautiful brilliance and peace, but also the warmest welcome ever. I felt how my ego or mind wanted to make me guilty of having vaped DMT, but at this point my consciousness was getting so expanded and aware that I didn't want to be anywhere else but there, watching the light with absolute awe. When I finally fell into the light, it felt returning home, but not like returning home from work or back to my home country after vacations, but this time was different. It was like returning to my original source and ultimate home, all caps. It was an endless ocean of the most infinite white brightness, which contained all the love, all the understanding, all the forgiveness, all the compassion, all the wisdom, all the intelligence, all the happiness, and far above and beyond I could ever wish in my limited and ridiculous life, that at the same time now it felt so precious and useful, as a contrast to finally enjoy the infinite explosion of happiness of life after death. At this point, I was surprised how I and everybody else has so much baseless fear of death, because they don't know the beauty that has been prepared and is waiting for them. This infinite light knew absolutely everything, because it was everything itself, and it totally knew itself. At the same time, I understood that this light did not come from anything else, but everything else came from this light. And because this infinity was the source itself, this light was ultimately what people on earth call love or God, but at the same time, it was pure consciousness, and I understood that it was the only consciousness, because by being infinite, there cannot be another one. Otherwise, it would be finite. But since there is nothing dividing infinity, infinity remains infinite. So there is only one infinity, hence one only consciousness. Close quote. Let me read that again. And the light was ultimately what people on earth call love or God, but at the same time, it was pure consciousness. And I understood that it was the only consciousness, because being infinite, there cannot be another one. Otherwise, it would be finite. But since there is nothing dividing infinity, infinity remains infinite. So there is only one infinity, hence only one consciousness. Isn't it interesting how many of these stories involve some of these words and concepts that you wouldn't think people really think about? Yet many of the stories that we've read so far come back and they talk about infinity and being infinite and the only source and everything into itself, and it's just kind of some of the same language, which probably isn't normal. I wouldn't think. This is a foreign NDE, and it's been translated, but I don't know. Okay, back to the story. Open quote. This infinite consciousness is the only truth and reality, and everything else is an illusion, a sort of multi-layered dream that the infinite consciousness was able to create because of its limitless power. Within the multiple layers of the illusion, this consciousness dreams of dividing itself into different human beings, animals, and plants, and fills the universe with its own consciousness, manifested as life, emotions, experiences, adventures of any sort, with the endless variety because of the infinite possibilities available within infinity. Close quote. And we'll read that one again. Open quote. Within the multiple layers of the infinite consciousness is the only truth and reality, and everything else is an illusion, a sort of multi-layered dream that the infinite consciousness was able to create because of its limitless power. Within the multiple layers of the illusion, this consciousness dreams of dividing itself into different human beings, animals, plants, and fills the universe with its own consciousness, manifested as life, emotions, experiences, adventures of any sort, with endless variety because of the infinite possibilities available within infinity. Open quote. This means that our life on earth is a dream, and the dreams that we have while sleeping are a dream within a dream. The purpose of this dream for the infinity is because the infinity is love, and love loves to love, but love is the only reality. So there is nobody else to love. So this love sacrifices itself by getting itself divided into infinite parts so they can love each other. So happiness is created because finally love can find someone else to love. The understanding, intelligence, awareness, love, and compassion that we feel on earth is just a very, very small portion of what this infinity is. Infinity created nothingness, which is a void, like a fertile field where combined with love makes life grow. And this is a correspondence between infinity, which is consciousness or love, which is reality itself, that dreams the whole universe and then makes the universe pregnant with life, creating an infinite poetry of life, colors, perfumes, plants, stars, night, day, insects, animals, people, and other beings, with the amazing opportunity to love each other forever, non-stop, which is the ultimate purpose. Love is the ultimate purpose. But since love is already perfection itself, perfection has been achieved. And since love is God, God does exist. So perfection is already there, and we just need to enjoy it. This and many more explanations went on for hours, while I knew that only a few minutes passed on earth. 1 minute on earth is more than half an hour after death or outside the ego body. At this point, this light made me understand that the only true mistake I made was not loving others. And this mistake is the same mistake that the whole humanity made, causing all the problems and suffering that we are living on earth. Then, for a brief moment, I was able to see Jesus, and this was the first form I saw. He had holes trespassing his hands and feet. While I was focusing on those holes, I saw that they contained darkness, the same one I saw while traveling towards the light. In the meantime, Jesus told me, without speaking any word, with some sort of the most efficient telepathic mind transfer, that Jesus and the infinity together created the whole situation of everything that happened in Israel, and they did it on purpose. Every person, every detail, every event was planned to happen as it happened, and the purpose was to show to the world that this infinite love is so big that it is willing to allow to get crucified just to show them that it will still forgive them because they know not what they are doing. Jesus also told me that in the well, when he said to the woman that with regular water people will be thirsty again, but of the water that he gives, people will never have thirst again. It is because infinite love is endless. So once people find it, they don't need anything else, which corresponds to the teaching that says to seek the kingdom of God first, and that everything else will be added, because everything we really want is in this kingdom of God. So Jesus told me, now you will see the kingdom of God, where you will be received after your mortal life. I was taken out of that infinite light and surrounded again by a void of blackness. I saw an immense human body with no specific gender, or better said, with both genders simultaneously. This human being was bigger than the whole solar system. It was standing still, but it had a very vibrant life within it. There were billions of people working and living there. This human was the shape of the kingdom of God. It was full of roads, parks, very sophisticated buildings, and full of people and animals living there with an enormous joy. Each living being was like a cell of the body of this huge human-shaped body. I was then sent to one corner of one park of this kingdom, and I was surrounded by the most beautiful garden I ever saw. It was obvious that the gratitude and happiness of being in this garden has not been ever known to anybody on earth unless they experience an NDE. The extreme joy that I could feel for the existence of every flower, every tree, every leaf is totally beyond any language known to human. While in this park, many people got close to me to greet me and to tell me how happy that they were that I had visited them. There were dozens of them, and they were all talking to me at the same time, but I was able to understand all of them simultaneously without ever losing track of not even one word or concept expressed by them. They were very bright, not only in intelligence, but also because their bodies reflected the sun. That was the infinite light shining of that kingdom shaped as a human being. While they were talking to me nonstop, I felt like they were updating me, fixing me, improving my soul, my intelligence, my wisdom, my habits, helping me notice which bad habits I can leave behind and how to move towards good habits to improve my life and help others with a better example. These people around me told me that the sun we see on Earth and even the stars and the artificial light bulbs we have do not produce light, but they are a portal which allows part of the reality to flow in within our dreams so effectively. Every time we see a light, we are seeing a part of infinity, which is reality, which is love, which is consciousness, which is God, which is all one, which is all the same. They say that just like the sun or any light bulb can be a portal to light, we can also be a portal to reality, into the illusion every time we love others. So just like the sun opens itself to give light, not expecting anything back, love does not expect anything back no matter what, because true infinite love is unconditional, and we can be light that just like Jesus was, because he went to earth as the ultimate example for everybody. In this garden park on heaven, everything contained wisdom. Even the flowers were moving and rotating and transmitting information, explaining and reflecting how infinite love is and works. There were many beautiful buildings, and they were all very shiny, like mirrors, reflecting the light from this infinite sun. But this light was not just light. It contained love, wisdom, intelligence, understanding, forgiveness, and all the most beautiful virtues and gems we could ever wish on our lives. Everybody there was very smart and creative, and they were continuously using their creativity, each one according to their taste and talents, to improve in different ways the kingdom where they were living for themselves, but even more to share with others and the newcomers like me and the rest of the humanity still living a mortal life on Earth and millions of other planets. I was free to move everywhere within that kingdom, but I was learning so much and enjoying so much happiness that I could not possibly believe that anywhere could be better than that place. This family we have in heaven showed me many other things that they are preparing to increase the beauty and happiness even further, and that soon part of that beauty, happiness, and increased consciousness will flow into the temporal dimension of our known universe, which contains the Earth and other planets. Everything made absolute sense, and there was no smarter way to do things. All our political and economical systems on earth are so mediocre compared to how heaven is organized, being based on absolute freedom, creativity, consciousness, and especially love for infinity and love for others, which is the same love. I started feeling like I was slowly falling and fading away from that place, and everybody around me knew that I was going away, so they kept on teaching me lots of amazing things and asked me to learn to forgive others more, to avoid focusing so much on other people's mistakes, learn to forgive every mistake, and celebrate the good things that everybody does on earth. As I was sliding away from them, they kept on telling me, "Bye, see you soon. We'll keep on working in heaven to make it a better place for you and your family and friends, for you to live with us forever in full everlasting joy and absolute, complete, and endless happiness." In the meantime, I felt like falling faster and faster to earth through a channel where all the old feelings of having a mortal body and earthly smells and limited colors and several other limitations, including the heaviness of my body, came back. I found myself laying on the floor, feeling so free, so happy that even earth felt like heaven. I was not sad of leaving heaven, because I noticed how earth is already a limited copy of heaven, but still beautiful with all its weather, landscapes, species, races, plants, flowers, architecture, and so much beauty. Despite the effects of DMT were quickly fading away, I was still able to have a very clear understanding of why I made the mistakes I made, and I could understand why society and each individual being I know behaves the way they do. Consciousness is perception, which is love, which is God, which is the only God within us, which is perfect. But the problem is not a quality problem, but a quantity problem. The problem is that we don't love each other enough. Love is the ultimate solution to each problem. So when I was looking for intelligence, it was not the most intelligent thing, because intelligence is only a small part of consciousness. So looking for infinite love is smarter, because it contains intelligence and everything else that I am looking for. Intelligence by itself is useless if there is no love, which is the true source. I felt very strongly within all my physical body, spiritual body, soul, and mind that this infinite love is so generous that it would not allow me to go away with empty hands, so it left me with a signature of the memory that infinity exists, that infinite happiness is awaiting me and everybody that wants it. I now have no more fear of death, and I can be a much stronger comfort help, and guide to those who have some sort of doubt, addiction, trauma, or want to improve their lives. Love is the only reality, so it is the only real and true answer. Every time I go to the infinity, there is no way that my very limited memory can remember more than an infinitesimal small fraction of that endless explosion of infinite love and ultimate perfection and beauty. Once people see this, the light caps, they get rid of addictions, including from heavy drugs like methamphetamine, crack, cocaine, tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, excessive food. Many people, after seeing the light, go vegan or at least vegetarian because they get an increased empathy for every living being, including animals. Family relationships also improve and people become more forgiving, preparing themselves to get back to the light, but with a much increased awareness and sense of purpose in life. People who said that they don't believe in God after seeing the light, they now understand that God exists, but in a very different and much better manner compared to how religion depicts God. After seeing the light, religious people understand that religions and organizations are not important, but what matters is reality, which is love, hence how much we love each other, even between different species. I could go on for days writing everything I learned on the other side after more than 140 NDEs, but at the same time, no human language is capable of containing those experiences. Human language can barely begin pointing to what God, love, and infinity is and what it prepared for us after this mortal life, which is nothing more than a gestation for the next life. Just like before being born, we have been prepared for this mortal life. So each life is an improved step compared to the previous life, and in each step our freedom and mind increases, becoming more complex, so we can enjoy infinity with a more expanded mind and awareness. The ultimate intelligence is understanding that infinite love is the only truth, the only reality, and the only consciousness. Everything else is illusion. This is the ultimate and final equation that every scientist is looking for, and it is the answer to my search for increased intelligence. I looked for intelligence, and I found its source, which was, is, and always will be God. Kindest regards with love to all humanity. End quote. Wow. 140 NDEs. He shows up. Hey, Lewis, how are you? There are a couple questions here at the end. Let's see if there's any good ones. Well, question: what was your religion prior to the experience? I believe in Jesus and his teachings, but I do not follow any religion. And have your religious practices changed since your experience? Answer: yes, I became way more spiritual, but not for spirituality's sake, but for love. I now believe that religions can contain some useful pointers to reality, but no more than pointers. Just like a sign that points to New York is less important than the city of New York itself. A religion, a book, organizations can only, in the best case scenario, be only a pointer, but never the goal. The goal is love, because it is the only reality, so it is the only real and worthy goal. Question: did your experience include features consistent with your earthly beliefs? Answer: content, it was both consistent and inconsistent. With my 140 plus NDEs, I discovered that I was mostly wrong in more than 50% of things. I was right that God exists, and promoting minimalism, veganism, naturalism, and nudism for increased well-being and connection with nature, anarcho-capitalism, and teachings from Jesus. But regarding everything else, I was pretty much wrong. Before telling me that where I was right. The infinity showed me over and over where I was wrong, and after telling me a huge list of my mistakes, misunderstandings, bad habits, and too much identification with the ego, this infinity told me that I was actually correct in a couple things, what coincided with heavenly habits and behaviors. Question: did you have a change in your values and beliefs because of your experience? Answer: yes. Pretty much almost all my values and beliefs changed from somewhat fine-tuned to greatly changed. I still believe in God and life after death, but now I have a much clearer understanding and wisdom that would have been impossible without dying, or at least some NDEs. Question: did you seem to encounter a mystical being or presence or hear an unidentifiable voice? Answer: I encountered a definite being or a voice, clearly a mystical or unearthly origin. I was inside infinity, constantly updating my mind. I met Jesus, whom explained me many things, but it was a mental voice, not sound voice. I also met deceased beings living on heaven, explaining to me how they were building heaven for everybody to enjoy forever. All these conversations went on for hours, but concepts were being efficiently transferred from mind to mind without using voices or sounds. Question: during your experience, did you gain information about pre-mortal existence? Answer: yes. My body and mind did not exist prior to this lifetime, but my consciousness always existed because it is the only thing that exists, because everything else is illusion, including space and time that was created outside reality as a dream from reality, which is infinity itself. The purpose of my creation is to generate an individual identity with the purpose to love others and to love infinity and being loved by others and by infinity itself. During your experience, did you gain information about universal connection or oneness? Answer: yes. Unity is the only reality because there is only one consciousness, one love, one God, one reality, one truth, one infinity. That is all the same, all one. Everything else is the illusion or dream that we are separated by physical, spatial, temporal, and dimensional boundaries. But all separations is illusion, so reality is absolute unity. Nothing else can divide reality because there is nothing more real than reality itself. And because there is only one reality, reality is united, but it is perceived as separated in different elements from the duality point of view of the illusory dream of mortal life. In the afterlife, there can be a complete and simultaneous dual and non-dual understanding of everything, and this allows everlasting happiness, capital H, to be enjoyed. Question: during your experience, did you gain information about the existence of God? Answer: yes, God is reality, and reality does exist because it is the only thing that exists. God is love, and love does exist as we can experience and feel it because there is a perception because we are conscious. Consciousness can perceive love because God does exist, because God is love. So feeling love is perceiving God, which is perceiving ourselves, the perception of the perception, like God watching himself in a mirror. Every time we love and help each other, or we are seeing someone loving and helping, That is a form of watching God, which is reality. Everything else that is not love is an illusion, which is a smaller, reduced part of reality, but in a limited form. So everything is either real or illusion, but even illusion is part of reality, but limited. Reality is like the white color, while illusion is like the green color, which is part of the white, but only part of it. Dear question, during your experience, did you gain special knowledge or information about your purpose? Answer, yes. The purpose is to love. The goal is to love. Love is the reason. Love is reality. Love is the only thing that everybody wants, but inevitably got distracted because of the illusory nature of the duality. Question. During your experience, did you gain information about the meaning of life? Answer. Yes. Earthly life is a gestation and preparation for heavenly life. Without earthly life, heavenly life is still possible, but it is much harder to generate and requires much more effort. Young children that die too early in the mortal dimension need special care in the afterlife in order to become fully mature adults. Mortal life allows living beings to experience duality, so once they meet non-duality, their happiness, capital H, becomes greatly increased. This phenomenon is explained by the prodigal son story in the Bible of the son leaving the father, which represents non-duality, and then after suffering within the duality, he remembers and wishes to come back to non-duality, which is infinity. So gets back to the Father, which is infinite love, because his own personal mind is finally mature as an independent human being to appreciate non-duality, which is love. So he decides to enjoy heaven, where his true life really begins. Question. During your experience, did you gain information about an afterlife? Answer. An afterlife definitely exists, yes. Infinite love is the only truth, and everything else is illusion, including life and death. That means that death is illusion, or the inner side of a shell that divides us from a more open and broad life. So not only there is life after death, but there is no death. What humans call death is nothing more than awakening from one dream into a higher level dream. The kingdom of heaven/God is just the highest level of all the dreams and can be always accessed because it is an everlasting, continuously endless dream because it was created by infinity for that purpose. Question. Did you gain information about how to live our lives? Answer. Yes. There is too much to explain. Millions of books would not be enough. After 140 plus NDEs, plus seeing my friends having NDEs over and over, everything is relevant. Every detail is an example in order to improve our lives, both earthly and after death. The only thing that we must truly remember is that infinite love is the only truth and reality. Everything else is illusion. Question. During your experience, did you gain information about life's difficulties, challenges, and hardships? Answer, yes. Everything is a dream and a struggle on earth, caused by the illusion of duality, represented by being kicked out from the Garden of Eden as depicted in the Bible. This struggle of duality, which is the illusion of separation, is necessary. Otherwise, happiness, capital H, could not be enjoyed in heaven, and heaven would not exist. But infinity contains infinite wisdom, so everything is perfect and could not be better, including the most horrible pains. Question. During your experience, did you gain information about love? Answer, yes. Love is the only reality. Love is the only thing that exists. There is nothing else. Everything else is just a dream that love is having in order to prepare heaven for itself. Question. What life changes occurred in your life after your experience? Answer. Large changes in my life. Everything greatly improved since I had my first NDE. After more NDEs, things kept on improving, and now I'm helping others to have their own NDE to improve their lives and help me to help others have their NDE in order to help as many people as possible see the infinite light. Question. Have your relationships changed specifically because of your experience? Answer, yes. I immediately and proactively improved all my relationships with girlfriend, family, relatives, friends at work, even with people that I had fights and didn't talk to them for decades. After the NDE, was the experience difficult to express in words? Answer, yes, I saw colors, experiences, feelings, understandings that cannot be translated into human language because those non-dual concepts cannot be explained from the duality with duality mode language. However, human language, if used skillfully, can still be somewhat useful to point to the reality and infinity experienced after death or during NDEs. Question. How accurately do you remember the experience in comparison to other life events that occurred around the same time as the experience? Answer. I remember the experience as accurately as other life events that occurred. I remember very accurately, but the problem is not the quality, but the quantity of things that I can remember and the language limitations I encounter to explain what I have experienced. I was able to compensate the lack of capacity to remember by having more NDEs more often, and this is allowing me to bring back to earth more detailed and rich experiences to share with others. Question. Do you have any psychic or non-ordinary or other special gifts after your experience that you did not have before the experience? Answer, yes, I can perceive people's emotions and intentions much faster and clearer than ever before. I can think much faster and more accurately, but this is also caused by the neurogenesis caused by DMT. Question. Are there one or several parts of your experience that are especially meaningful or significant to you? Answer, love. Infinite love. The absolute reality of infinite love and its beautiful perfection. Question. Have you ever shared this experience with others? Answer, yes, I share it every day with every person I can. Most people don't understand and get scared of the idea of dying and facing reality, depending on the country and culture. Question. Did you have any knowledge of near-death experience prior to your experience? Answer, yes, I heard about NDEs here and there on some websites and reading histories from people studying material from Emanuel Swedenborg I was very curious about those, and I enjoy listening or reading NDE testimonies, but I never thought I was going to have at least one of them, let alone experience 140 plus NDEs in less than 2 years. Question: what do you believe about the reality of your experience after it happened? Answer: experience was definitely real. Nothing was ever more real than the pure absolute reality of infinite love in NDEs. Question: at any time in your life, has anything ever reproduced any part of the experience? Yes, after taking DMT, I occasionally have another NDE during sleep at night, at least once within the first 2 or 3 days after the first NDE when taking DMT. End quote. I don't know. He seemed pretty knowledgeable. There's a lot of good information there. But there's a lot of good information in a lot, and the language is hard to express what's seen. Lots of good information. Thank you for listening.